podcast. This is Ron Costa in sunny Las Vegas, broadcasting from the Mappable USA studios where we put you on a map. And everybody, today's show is going to be really cool. We've been talking about some amazing companies and some amazing growth markets. We just finished off with oil and gas. We've done real estate. And today we're going to talk about maybe one of the biggest emerging markets out there, the cannabis industry. But before we get going into that, let's introduce our co-host here from the QOZ Marketplace, Vicki Hechmala. Vicki, how are you doing today?
I'm fabulous today, Ron, fabulous. And I'm excited because as much as I love Las Vegas, I'm happy that it's only going to be in the 90s today. Looking forward to fall. And more importantly, looking forward to talking with our guest today. This is new, this is exciting, this is cannabis, and we're excited.
Yeah, so let's introduce today Peter Wojcik from Pharmagreen Biotech. Peter, how are you today?
Very good. Thank you for having me on the show today, and I appreciate being on it. Thank you.
Absolutely. It's our pleasure. And we've got Peter all the way from Canada, correct? What part of Canada are you from?
We're in the beautiful British Columbia, Vancouver. So, yes, we're domiciled in that part of the world of Canada, British Columbia. Yeah, that is definitely God's country. I've been there a couple of times on some conventions, and I remember the first time I went there, I thought to myself, boy, if I had any reason to move here, I would. I loved it so much, but didn't know anyone there. See, Peter, I didn't know you at the time. Me and only a few other million people, but cool.
Exactly. So Peter, your company is involved in cannabis and everything. We're going to get into that in a little bit, but let's talk about you first. What is basically your background? How did you get to this point in your business?
Well, as a young man, I've been involved in a few different businesses, from the computer side of the hardware, internet service providing, as well as software development. Have done very well. And then I come from a medical family background. My father still is a practicing cardiologist. My mother recently passed away due to cancer. She's been battling the disease for 12 years, and that's what basically brought me into the cannabis space. When she was diagnosed, I was looking for medicines that could certainly help her, and I got involved. Just to make a real quick story, first time I sent down there some raw marijuana to my parents' house, my mom tried it, and she was obviously quite intoxicated with her legs up. My father comes home and says, "Son, this isn't medicine. You're the Antichrist." I'm like, "Just a minute, Dad. Let me go to the drawing board." And I did. And I've been doing extracts for human formulation extracts using THC for stage 4 individuals stricken with stage 4 cancer. And we've gotten some great anecdotal data in terms of efficacy and dosages, and I've been doing that basically for the last decade on a philanthropic effort, trying to help as much as I can those who are so unfortunate to contract the disease.
Yeah, unfortunately, I don't think there's a family out there that hasn't been touched by cancer. And when you think about it that way, and how many people are in the world, you're looking at an industry that really needs work. It certainly needs research, and what the people are doing in this to drive these cannabis companies and these basically cancer companies trying to find a cure. That is really a noble effort, and it also means that there's a lot of money in that too. So I'm sure that went into your thinking when you decided to. I don't know. Did you create the company, or did you? I know you just had your S1, but how did that start?
Yeah, so Pharmagreen was started basically in the 2013. We're one of the very first companies to build a state-of-the-art hydroponics facility. It wasn't that large, about 5,000, 10,000 square feet in size, but for its time, it certainly was. We even attracted the personalities of Tommy Chong, which we were fortunate enough for him to come visit Canada, take a look at our facility. I still got pictures of him being in there, and he's like, "Man, Peter, those plants look so good, they must be fake." But with that being said, that was the beginning of Pharmagreen Biotech, and then we realized another aspect besides just being the grower there is, and that is being more of a science involved in the supplying of tissue cultured starter plantlets. Big difference between that and clones as in terms of your starting material. if it's done in a clean room lab, then basically you have we guarantee no bugs, no diseases, and most importantly, no genetic drift. So we're in the process of actually building out one of the largest facilities in North America for the production of tissue cultured starter plantlets. We plan to do about 1 million per month, and we're recently, with all the advent of the CBD side of the cannabis industry being global, passage of Farm Bill, so it's kind of interstate commerce allowed as well as it's internationally consumed item on a mass scale. We've done research and we've come up with a proprietary strain called CBD Dana, which was named after my mother, actually, and it's a 15% CBD strain. We're doing very successful testing across Canada this year with farmers, improving not only how well the plant grows, but also figuring out cultivating schedule, how tall the plant should be, what sort of feeding schedule to apply for it. To basically, we're introducing a brand new model of high CBD hemp farming using tissue cultured and all-female starter plantlets, increases their revenues drastically. We're looking up to $500,000 per acre farming with CBD Dana and our method of all-female plantlets. Very exciting.
So are you focused on the pain aspect, or are you focused on the cure aspect?
Well, that will be down the road upon our tissue culture, and we can work with farmers all across North America and basically have the ability to supply on a consistent level highest grade CBD flower tops. Then we are looking to basically make it into human formulations, and our focus will be twofold. Yes, on pain, using with CBD as it's so great for treatment of inflammation, and then as well as taking a look at the THC side of things, as THC is highly efficacious in killing tumor cells in cancer. So a combination of both, as you know, is probably the best. Israelis tabled the entourage effect in the 1960s, where just one out of the whole cannabinoids isn't as desired and might produce negative loopback, they call it, if consumed too much by itself. So yes, the answer is we'd be looking for a balanced formulation, call it for those stricken with cancer, and those as well looking for pain treatment, as an alternative to opiates.
So you provide the product to laboratories, to research facilities, to pharmaceuticals, so that they can then take it and do whatever they're going to do with it?
Not yet. So we plan to start doing that supply by next year. This year we're basically proving the strain, and we'll be submitting this research to Health Canada to be approved on the cultivars list as a strain for next year's farming season. Unfortunately, Health Canada, or I should say the federal government, classified CBD as a controlled substance here, and we still have restrictions in terms of its production as well as its use. But we're getting there, so that will be a certainly expansion of our services as a company.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask. How does the Canadian government look on it as compared to the United States and their approach to it?
United States did a very wonderful thing, very smart thing, very business-like, and that is the passage of the Farm Bill. So United States basically treats whatever is in the hemp plant belongs, call it over the counter. It's not restricted as a controlled substance. That's the main difference. It's completely legalized through the Farm Bill, the production of hemp as well as the extraction of its cannabinoids, mainly CBD, as long as the THC is below 0.3%, whereas here in Canada, CBD is a controlled substance, same thing as the THC. So it carries a lot of restrictions in terms of its ability, in terms of even growing it, as well as doing further commerce with it. It's restricted to licensed producers, where there's about 400 of them across Canada. There's more every day, but it's a slow pace coming. So.
What kind of facilities do you use for this? Is it a warehouse or what actually houses the company?
Well, what we're building right now is a 63,000 square foot state-of-the-art cannabis biotech complex. And in that, our primary focus will be the production of up to 1 million per month tissue culture plantlets. We're also providing a brand new service to the industry, which we call cold storage of strains using tissue culture. How do you store a strain? Well, you basically have the seeds, or you have to keep the mother plant alive, which gets old just like humans do and is susceptible to bugs and diseases. We can indefinitely store the strains using this proprietary technology of cold storage with the tissue culture. Basically, it's something that grows in a year, or something that grows in 2 weeks, we can make it grow in a year, and therefore it's a very slow, prolonged growth process, and we can store indefinitely. This is very exciting, not just for the cannabis industry, but overall for the preservation of all plant species, as you see what's going on with the climate change. Good example is, the recent virus that's attacking the banana species, where it's facing extinction. A company like ours can certainly preserve those best genetics live. We're also doing research and development where we develop cultivating schedules. So not only do we sell the plantlets to the farmers, we're also give them a schedule how to properly grow it. So we take the guesswork out of growing for them. So we're a big complement to the industry, and we're using some of the latest technologies. Therefore, we also partnered with Signify, which is a division of Philips. Philips is the world's largest horticultural LED lighting, and we're testing one of their latest LED technologies that not only is dimmable, but also we can change the spectrum of light, which makes it really great for our facility as we consider ourselves recession-proof. Today's cannabis, maybe tomorrow it's banana plantlets. Either way, we're geared to go. We're building this facility for the next 50 years to come. We're also deploying some of the other proprietary technology, which is brand new to tissue culture. Tissue culture has been around for 50, 60 years, and is a fourth stage to micropropagation. Dr. Afrin's expertise, she devised methodology, which is brand new to the industry, where she can do it in 3 stages. What does that mean? That means we can do more plantlets in less space and in less time, therefore making us a very commercial, viable entity for the supply to growers, whether they're THC, CBD, or other plant species as well. So that's why we call it the Cannabis Biotech Complex. It carries a lot of proprietary technologies, from equipment used as well as to the intellectual property deployed, to be the supportive centers where we plan to build these complexes, across North America. British Columbia will be the footprint, will be the first facility built, and we already have our eye on California, and we hope to get there sooner rather than later.
Oh,
nice.
Good job. Because you'd like to have it where you can grow the actual plants indoors as opposed to waiting for a growing season. That way you kind of eliminate the time factor and you can produce it year-round, 365 days.
Yes, indoor growing gives you that ability, but as well as, the climate in southern U.S. is so perfect for hemp cultivation because you can almost grow all year round. So we basically have the ability to supply, both types of growers, whether they outdoor growers, indoor or greenhouse growers. Just what we give them is, they start with a guaranteed perfect plantlet, no bugs, no diseases, and, in mass commercial scale. So that really profits their bottom line. For example, indoor growers use about 20% of their space to make their own clones. As bigger they get, there's more issues that can arise from making it through the clone technology as opposed to tissue culture. So us being able to supply them, they can turn over that space into more money-making space, which is flowering rooms, when they have a consistent, viable supply on a timely manner of these perfect plantlets, and as well as producing these high CBD plantlets like our proprietary strain CBD Dana, which is 15% CBD, and you're starting with all-female planting in the outdoor season. So remember this, traditionally done from seed, you usually got males and females. Males pollinate the female. The minute the female is pollinated, 80% of the flower turns into seed. Seed is only good for omega-3s and 6s. The cannabinoids are produced in the flower material of the female plant. So if you can start with all females, no pollination, well, you're getting 50% of the field because no males. You're gaining 80% of the flower production because no seed. And then you're getting a vast percentage increase. If you're starting with 1% traditional hemp, industrial hemp strain, and you go up to 15%, that's another 1,500% increase in your cannabinoid oils. You combine all that together, you have the best biomass, which we call the flower tops, for the extraction companies, because at the end of the day, for the extraction guys, whatever they put in their tubes is, based on the volume that comes out on the other end, that's their paycheck. And there's only so many hours in a day, so if they can fill those tubes with the best quality biomass, obviously they'll get the highest concentrations of oils, and again, increases their revenues. So again, there's another very successful model that we're developing for farmers all across North America, and that is farming with high CBD strain like Pharmagreen CBD Dana, and all females to increase the yields drastically.
It sounds like just like in human life, it sounds like the female tells the male ones what to do all the time.
Yes, whenever you throw males into the pack, they always wind up screwing things up. So it's best if the females are left alone.
And don't you ever forget it.
That's right. So now you have a facility. Is the facility currently operating or building it? Have you located a place in British Columbia?
We have a mock-up facility on a different location that we're basically testing all the equipment this year that will be utilized in the main build-out. We've acquired 26 acres of land already in 2017. We've gotten the municipal and regional building approvals. That took us a good year to complete. So we're basically at this pre-construction phase. All we got to do is bring in about 40,000 cubic yards of pre-fill, and then we're ready to start the main building construction. To also, because of our demand for our CBD Dana strain and the success of the pilot project this year, we can sell over 2 million plantlets for next year's growing season. To that effect, we're actually looking to build state-of-the-art all-year-round greenhouse to expedite the supply, where currently we have planned 250,000 plantlets, but with a greenhouse we can supply over 750,000. So we'll build a greenhouse first with the first 5 million use of proceeds, and then the next 25 million would build out the main Cannabis Biotech complex. And our last stage will be to build an extraction plant, as the farmers are very much interested not only for us to supply the plantlets, give them the cultivating schedule, how to grow, they grow it, we then buy back the biomass, and we do the extractions basically for the best oils grown in the best land, which is in North American land, and therefore you can make the whole hemp plant extract oils for formulations for human use that are pharmaceutical grade. So once the plant is built, we can do these oils for a wholesale level sale to pharmaceutical type development, and as well as for Pharmagreen branded formulations for human use, like we touched earlier, whether it be cancer, pain, or topical applications.
So you create a symbiotic kind of relationship where it comes full circle.
Yes, correct. And this is what makes us very unique in this industry, that we just don't, do the initial sale to farmer. We follow through. We do research. We do soil, water analysis for the farmers. We basically do it in a symbiotic, relationship together. and then we buy back the biomass. So this is a very kind of lucrative, no-brainer proposition for the farmers willing to farm high CBD biomass.
That sounds great.
Do you own all of the land and real estate that you're developing on, or do you partner with other folks who might have the land and then you have the facilities and then somebody else builds it, or is it just all in-house?
It's all in-house. We own the land and we've done all the legwork. So we have 26 acres of land on the site. It's in Desroches, British Columbia, just an hour and a half east of Vancouver, where the first facility will be built. Subsequent facilities, we'll take a look how the relationship develop, what will make the best sense as we build out further facilities.
Yeah, when you build out further facilities, you have to, when you're looking into the United States, you should check out Vegas as well as California. Vegas is a better business climate.
Yes, I've been mentioned that before as well. We've been getting tremendous interest to build out the facilities, especially for the high CBD hemp farming market. As you know, it's much easier, as we mentioned earlier, no restrictions in terms of interstate or international commerce. But Vegas, because of the climate conditions, would be a very good place to look at, absolutely.
Yeah, I was thinking that it would be nice for you to, since you have the all of the research and the background and the criteria, then it'd be nice for you to partner with somebody in the state, someplace where it's viable, and then you provide it, they do it, and you kind of eliminate that whole cross-border type of situation.
Yes, and we're very much interested, and always, we're open to any type of relationships that might be presented to us, but it sounds like you're on the right track and thinking the same way we are, so yes.
How about that?
You know what they say, great minds always think alike.
Absolutely.
Well, Peter, let's talk about this from an investor perspective now. You guys have your S1 is effective, right? Do you have one?
Correct. So, we applied in March. It was, call it the first one. I've got, experience in the OTC side from my previous business ventures, successful ones, I might add at that. But absolutely. So the S1 went effective middle of July this year. Basically, as you know, best sort of investment landscape is this time of year. So we just started the marketing promotion of our S1 shares. And what we're trying to accomplish is basically we registered up to 20 million shares in the S1, which is now effective. And the price per share is $2 per share. Those are free trading shares. There's no restrictions on them. And the way we positioned and created the whole company, it's in my opinion, a very good entry point for investors to consider. There's no restrictions. We have so much intellectual property behind us, as well as the growth curve. Our revenue model is testing very successful this year. Not only did farmers have no issues in paying us per plantlet of $10 Canadian, they also came through with a percentage of biomass as well, as they see our involvement being highly critical and valuable to the ongoing operations of farming for CBD. So yeah, I would encourage anybody to take a look at, whether it be on our website, pharmagreen.ca, that's spelled PH, pharmagreen.ca, or contact me directly, which would be pw@pharmagreen.ca, which is my email, and I would be glad to take in. The investment is open to all investors in the United States. You don't have to be an accredited investor. It's a simple subscription agreement. The minimum is $10,000, and I would welcome all future investors to join Pharmagreen. Our symbol, by the way, is phbi.pk. So we're on pink sheets, but we're reporting issuer. We've been filing our audits for well over a year. Our game plan in terms of public listing is to migrate over to the OTCQB. We already have the application in the works to do so, and then we're looking to be a NASDAQ listed company the minute we qualify. I hope to that it materializes in the next 12 to 18 months that we joined the senior listing on the NASDAQ.
Yeah, that would be amazing to do in such a relatively short period of time. To do the S1 in the time frame that you just mentioned is also really impressive. I'm curious, did you file that yourself? Did you have outside help, or how did you do that?
Well, yes. So we basically, we had very little outside help, but most important help we had, I should mention, is from Michael Hoffman. He's a very astute, not only securities attorney, he also specializes in fraud securities attorney. So his reputation certainly precedes him, but the main architect of the document was myself. I always like to have a pulse on anything that I do or I'm in charge of. It's always good to know a little bit about everything, makes you a very, very rounded person, and it gives you great knowledge in terms of getting these filings and basically understanding them, as they're very serious documents, and they've got to be treated as such, as the regulators go through such documents with a fine tooth and comb. So I'm very pleased with the process. It was quite onerous, wasn't cheap, but it was successful at the end of the day, and that's the result we were aiming for.
Yeah, and this process goes back and forth with the FTC, right? You file the document, and then they give you comments back, and you have to respond to those comments, and it's kind of like a ping-pong game until they say, okay, we're ready, right?
Correct, and they really do go through all the information that you submit, and they always come up with questions that you didn't think they would, but they certainly do. So it is a process, and we, of course, had help. I mean, just to complete each filing or each amendment as you file through is basically takes the efforts, if I might sum it up. We have so there's, our accounting firm that translates into U.S. format. There's our auditors. There's the CFO involved. There's me as the CEO. We have a filer as well, an Edgarizer person, and then you have your securities attorney. So it's certainly a team of effort to get every response through onto the next round as you submit these answers to the questions you've asked.
Are you using a transfer agent for this?
Yes, our transfer agent is TransShare. They've been around in business for quite a bit. They have quite the stellar reputation, so we're glad to be working with TransShare.
Have you contemplated using tokens to raise funds for your operation?
No, we haven't looked at that process yet, but I think we certainly will. It's been mentioned to me a couple of times before, so we'll certainly make an effort to look into it as well.
Now, it sounds like you have a lot going on here, and I really like the proprietary nature of these strains that you're developing, and the technology as a whole is really important because, like you said before, you can apply it to the cannabis industry, but perhaps maybe something that you guys uncover or are able to produce will help adjacent industries as well, which makes your company and product even more outstanding.
Yes, the biggest, I would say, advancement for tissue culture. As I was doing a presentation in California, I met some, other smaller companies that attended when I was speaking out there, my presentation, and they mentioned, the biggest obstacle to getting tissue culture is doing it in a mass commercial scale. We've been engineering our facility for the last 4 years to bring in some of the best technology companies behind us, but also to develop a commercial production model where we can do 1 million a month. And let me tell you, as being involved in the cannabis industry for well over a decade, those growers that do extremely well is exactly those growers that have the ability to start with perfect starter plantlets. Cloning is a typical method, for example, but, plants don't speak to you as clearly as humans do. So, cloning is, for example, an exercise where you take the tips from the mother plant, but a good analogy is it's like cutting yourself. Cut yourself once, it hurts. Cut yourself 500 times, and you go into septic shock and you're starting hating life. Well, the same thing goes to a mother plant. The minute you start taking more clones, the genetic composition and the hormone levels of the plant changes as it tries to survive, and therefore you're not getting uniform starts. And when you're not getting, something that isn't perfect, you cannot make it be perfect later, and it impacts your volume at the end of the day and the quality of product. So if you can eliminate that initial bottleneck in the starting material and you know how to grow properly, you're basically developing, AAA material that's most desired, whether that be for THC or CBD production.
And that goes back to what you said earlier, that if you have to know a little bit or as much as you can about every aspect of whatever you're doing, so that when things come up, you can adapt to it and you can take it to the next level. If you leave all of that to other people, they're not going to think about it as you would because they're not as invested in it. So knowing a little bit about everything is key to success in any industry, and especially in yours.
Yes, absolutely. And, that what makes us very unique in terms of the team that I assembled. So a little bit quickly, bios on ourselves. Like I mentioned, I've been in this industry for 12 years. I have developed growing systems from recirculating vertical type using LED technologies to organic growing, basically where you don't change your medium, which is being organic soil. It's a top-up method every year, to hydroponics systems as well. So it gives me quite a bit of knowledge, not only call it from the starting position of the starter plantlets, but also to growing system. To have this vast knowledge is really helpful in terms of building a cannabis company. Second, my CFO, Terry Kwan, he's got 40 years experience dealing with public companies. He was also the ex-CFO for Hyatt Steakhouse, which was premier steakhouse here in Canada, or still is, I should mention. And most importantly is Dr. Fazia Afrine. She's a PhD in botany. She taught PhD graduate students at the University of Chiba in Japan, everything from tissue culture to CO2 augmentation. She's got a number of patents published worldwide. One of them is actually substrate use in tissue culture, as well as well over 50 peer journals and articles published all in this botanical space. So you take those talents that we have, and I should also mention, if you look at our news releases on otcmarkets.com, symbol PHBI, you'll see the latest news release. We announced our advisory board. So I welcome two still practicing, very astute cardiologists. One of them is from Saskatchewan, Canada. His name is Dr. Wojcik, so he's my father, big supporter of the company, and as well as a big proponent of the new age, call it of, especially with cannabis, as he's seen the results firsthand in my treatment in helping my mother deal with the disease. Second individual is Dr. Baskerville from Virginia. He's been with the company for quite a while as well, and he sees, everything that we've put together and what a special and unique company that we are. They're both, senior investors into the company, but more importantly so, they're hard believers in everything that we're doing, and it was a big welcome to have them join the company as advisors and give us insight as we, in the future, get into formulations for humans and how the medical field is adapting overall cannabis use for those applications.
Absolutely. And I see that this is all detailed on your website. I'm over at your website on pharmagreen.ca. You have a team tab there, so you have a lot of good information on that site as well. Peter, I have one more question before we end this podcast. It gets back to, we do a lot of crowdfunding conferences here in Vegas. I was over at one called the Money Show, Las Vegas Money Show, and there were a number of companies there in the cannabis industry. Actually had a whole pavilion devoted to this industry. I mean, it's huge. It's really, really growing. A lot of people are taking interest in this. So I'm wondering, are you doing any road shows or trade shows? Are you getting out there as far as marketing goes? Are you ready to start something like that, or what's your plan?
So we do have a marketing team put together. Like I mentioned, we just started getting this wheel moving in September. onwards is kind of the best part of the year. I've done some road shows in California with Michael Barrett. We had a really good audience, really great questions and great interest. I'm also planning to be in New York at the end of September with Michael Barrett again, and doing some additional networking as well through some of his contacts as well. So absolutely, I look forward. I think it's great to get out there and network, get the company known. You know, I have a saying, if you develop something that's even better than sliced bread, but if you're the only one that knows it, it's difficult to share that such great innovations, right?
That's exactly true. Nobody can buy your product if they don't know you're selling it.
Absolutely. Right. So yes, I'm totally got my wings out there, and I'm willing and able to go anybody that's willing to listen to me.
Excellent. Well, I'm glad you took the time today for us. It was great listening to your story and everything that's going on with this. I think you're onto something really nice here. What about you, Vicki?
Oh, I think it's fabulous because you're taking advantage of a new industry and you're creating your own wheel instead of relying on somebody else where you have to revise it. It's always special to be the first one down the road, and Ron and I and Mappable, we will help you in any way we can because we believe in what you're doing, and you're doing an outstanding job. I did go through your website before our podcast, and I looked at your team, and your team is very impressive, and that lets me know that everybody is committed and everybody has bought into it and has a passion for it, and you have to have that in order to be successful, and we certainly will help you any way we can.
I so tremendously appreciate your help and your kind words. I mean, that's what certainly who we are as individuals, are all very positive driven, and what comes around goes around. The more successful we are, the more we'll share our success with not only with those that we deal with, but hopefully in general, as we can help mankind through the use of cannabis in a positive manner.
Yeah, and maybe we get you on the show later on, Peter, as things progress. We get a little update from you a couple of months down the road, and we'll kind of take it from there.
Thank you very much. Always would be a pleasure to attend. Absolutely.
Great. Thank you as well. Folks, everyone out there, you're listening to the Mappable USA podcast at mappableusa.com. Go to that website, scroll down the homepage. You'll see all our syndication sources. You just pick the one you like best so you never miss another episode. And if you want to be a guest on the show like Peter was today, there's a guest tab. Fill that out, and we'll see what we can do about getting you on the show. So once again, thanks, everyone, for subscribing. Thanks for all your support out there. Thanks for listening. And we'll be back at you next week with another Mappable USA podcast where we put you on the map. Thanks, and have a great week.